Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining. I'll start by introducing myself and the topic of today's webinar, and then I have a presentation prepared that I hope to be going over to inform everyone about applications to SUNY, or otherwise known as State University of New York, and CUNY, otherwise known as City University of New York. Um, Preparing applications for these branches of institutions. So before I begin, just to introduce myself, my name is Mayrose, and I started working at Kweller since um, senior year of high school, which for me was 2016. And I went to Townsend Harris High School, which is how I started working at Kweller Prep. Following that, I went to Barnard College of Columbia University, and after graduating from there, I did 2 years of research in antibiotic resistance and bacterial antibiotic resistance. And currently, I'm a second year medical student at Weill Cornell. Um, so I've been working with Kweller for quite some time, not only on test prep or standardized testing, but also on helping students improve their overall applications for um, undergraduate or graduate programs, whether that's by creating resumes for students or through helping students apply to colleges through essay preparation, or through just creating a school list, etc. So, with that short introduction, I'm going to be moving into the topic of today's presentation, um, which is applying to SUNYs and CUNYs. And before I begin, I want to give everyone a second to put any questions that they have in the chat so that I can address them now. Otherwise, I will be beginning the presentation. Okay. If not, then we will start with the presentation. I believe everyone can see my screen. So let's begin talking about the SUNY and CUNY apps. So to begin with, what are the CUNYs? As I mentioned earlier, CUNYs are known as City University of New York. They include Baruch College, City College of New York, Hunter College, Brooklyn College, John Jay College of Criminal Justice. A few things that I want to note for everyone about each of these schools is that each of these schools often have, sort of unique or well-known programs. To begin with, Baruch College is really, really well known for its finance and business programs. City College of New York, I would say, is more or less like an all-rounder with programs in the humanities, sciences, and arts. Hunter College, in particular, is really well known for their like rigorous science program. In fact, I have a lot of fellow medical students who are my friends at Weill Cornell who are graduates from Hunter. I also know that Hunter College has different partnerships or different connections to Weill Cornell medicine in general. So again, that goes to show um, that there are opportunities more so tailored towards the sciences there. Um, Brooklyn College, I would say also, has a lot of different diverse programs, and John Jay College of Criminal Justice primarily focuses on, of course, criminal justice and public reform. I, in fact, have a friend who's now a lawyer after graduating from John Jay and going to law school. Another thing I want to emphasize with CUNYs is location, and I think this is something that not many people think about when applying to colleges, but it really, really matters. Um, I prioritize location when making my school list, and that really helped me come up with a school list that was not only balanced in terms of having safety schools, target schools, reach schools, but also having a school list that reflected the schools I actually wanted to attend. So many students feel the pressure of just adding schools to get into something, but you have to realize that you should be happy going to any college that you apply to. I understand that some students, or as parents, some of you may want certain schools more than others, but ultimately, this is a game of probability. This is a game of chance. Our job at Kweller Prep, your job as parents or your job as students is going to be to maximize that probability of getting admitted, but recognize that you are applying to a school and you should want to go to that school. And so location can be really helpful for that. When I was applying to college, I really wanted to stay in New York, and that was reflected in my school list. And of course, I'm quite grateful that I got accepted into Barnard College of Columbia University, which was my top choice program. Um, but one of the reasons that it was my top choice program was location. I wanted to stay close to family. I wanted to be in New York because that's where I was born and raised. And I wanted to have a college experience in New York. And so again, this is just to emphasize one benefit of CUNY is that the New York, the New York location overall may be something beneficial for your student, for yourself as a parent, for your family as a whole. Another thing I want to emphasize is affordability with CUNYs. They are, public institutions that are funded by the government. They also would have relevant financial aid or scholarships, particularly for New York State residents or New York City residents. And this is something that I feel like not too many people think about when it comes to applying to college, but finances really, really do matter. And they're important, especially if your child is considering to go to like a graduate program such as medical school or law school, which most often does not have significant merit or financial based aid. And so affordability, I do think is very important. Um, and so again, these are just overall big picture things that I want everyone to be thinking about as we're talking about these applications. With respect to the State University of New York, there are a lot more. There isn't a specific one in New York City per se, but there are SUNYs scattered throughout the state. Perhaps the most popular include SUNY Albany, SUNY Binghamton, SUNY Buffalo, and SUNY Stony Brook. These schools are what are known as research centers. So they're very large universities that have, sorry, these schools are known as university centers. So they're very, very large institutions. Oftentimes they have both graduate and undergraduate programs. For example, Stony Brook, SUNY Buffalo, both have associated medical schools and other graduate schools of other health professions. That just goes to show like the size and the capacity that that school has or that institution has. Oftentimes, these are much larger schools with much larger campuses, etc. I will say that I know many, many students who have gone to SUNY Stony Brook, SUNY Buffalo, and have SUNY Binghamton and have been quite successful in their professional and academic journey. My sister graduated from SUNY Stony Brook and is currently a physician assistant student at the University of Pittsburgh and has her white coat ceremony next month. So again, very, very strong programs that I think not many students appreciate in this process. There are also many other SUNY universities. These are a list of all of them. Some of them are a bit further than, again, Stony Brook, which is probably the closest one to Queens, or just to the five boroughs in general, since it is a little bit deeper in the Long Island area. And again, these are two other SUNYs that specifically focus on applications of technology. Any questions so far that anyone has? Okay. So before I talk about the application, something that I really want to alert all of you parents and students to is that a lot of these institutions within SUNYs and CUNYs have honors programs. And these honor programs either require a more intensive screening of the student's application, or they provide the student with benefits upon matriculating to the program. It can also be both of these, that the program is a little bit more intense and it's a little bit more rigorous when it looks at applications, and it will also provide the student with benefits. It could be both of these, it could be either or. The reason that I highlight this for the application stage is because many honors programs will have their own essays and their own materials that you will need to prepare in order to apply. And I think this is something that not many students consider in their application process because it adds perhaps another essay that you need to write, or this adds additional workload. I think also it's something important to keep in mind because let's say, you're in high school and oh, I want to go to Baruch or I want to go to Stony Brook, you have to keep in mind that you want to keep your options open for these honors programs to get the perks that these honor programs provide. And so you want to make sure that you're really giving it your best shot in high school so that you are eligible and competitive for these programs. And I thought it'd be helpful if we sort of go through these programs together. So I'll start by going over like different programs for a lot of the schools that I thought um, most of us would be interested in talking about or applying to. So, this is the first honors program that I came across within University of Buffalo. This is the university's honors college. Now, I think their webpage is really helpful in allowing you to understand what the honors program requires and what it gives. So the honors college typically represents the top 10% of incoming first year students. So again, I know a lot of students, and I know for a lot of academically competitive students, SUNYs and CUNYs are oftentimes considered safety schools, where these are schools that you feel you are more or less, have a very strong chance of getting into. That's fine, but it's important to keep in mind that these honors programs do really allow you to distinguish yourself if you end up going to that school and you provide you a lot of perks. Um, and again, you need to apply to the honors program specifically. In the case of SUNYs, that's done through the Common App, and there is, there is a specific honors essay that is required part of a program. So this just goes to show that um, there is another component specifically for honors. Now, this is another important thing to keep in mind. For merit scholarships or for additional scholarships based on your academic performance, you need to have applied by December 8th. This again goes to show the importance of understanding different programs and what they require. So for honors programs, which again, any single student would want to apply to have the advantages given by the program, you need to apply earlier than typically what is known as regular decision, which is otherwise January 1st. And of particular interest is that offers of admissions to honors college are made on a rolling basis. Rolling basis means the school evaluates applications as they come in. So if I send my application on December 8th and someone sends their application on December 15th, my application will be looked at first. If they like my application, they will automatically send me an offer of admission to the honors college. I immediately have an advantage because the earlier I applied, the more seats they had to offer and the less competition I have for a single seat. Someone who applied later, their application may still be reviewed. By the time their application is reviewed, there may simply not be enough seats for an offer. So this goes to show that applying to SUNYs and CUNYs, you want to be sure that you are on top of deadlines like these. Now let's talk about why this honors program is helpful. And again, I feel like this would really help parents identify individual programs that their student would be, interested in applying to. What are the benefits of these honors programs? Priority registration. I cannot emphasize how beneficial this is. As someone who's gone through college, 4 years sounds like a lot. It goes by so fast, and every semester, when students register or choose their classes for that semester, there's a week or so of chaos where students are adding classes to their schedule. Sometimes the classes are filled because senior students are already enrolled. and underclassmen are on wait lists, or underclassmen have to request professors to let them in. There may not be enough seats in one class, and so you may have to push a specific class to the next semester, but that class may not be offered that semester, so on and so forth. A lot of times in college, classes are offered once every academic year, so they're only offered in the fall or they're only offered in the spring. Sometimes there are certain professors who teach some years or who teach some semesters. All these things matter when students want to register because they want to, get the class that is known to be with the best professor, so on and so forth. Having priority registration means you register for classes first. You get first dibs or first pick on the class that you register for. Again, considering everything that I mentioned earlier, that you want to choose classes that work with your schedule. You want to choose classes that work with your learning style. Are you a early morning learner? Are you someone who likes late classes? Are you someone who wants to work part-time, and do you need to make sure your class schedule aligns with that? There are so many things to consider when you're registering for classes. This really would make a difference. Peer mentoring. Going to college is definitely a transition. I've experienced that transition. Everyone will experience that transition, regardless of where you go. Having a peer mentoring program specifically for the honors program is a great way for students to make connections, to learn from peers. Research opportunities. As someone who's recently applied to medical school and now is a second year student, I cannot emphasize how important it is for students to get involved in research, especially for students interested on the medical track. Research is becoming more and more of what's called a soft requirement, where it more or less really sets applicants in a different ballpark if they have research. And more students are taking time off after college to pursue research again because it is becoming such a requirement nowadays for medical school. And as someone who's pursued research, I can definitely see how valuable it is. At Barnard, I had the privilege of being involved in research for approximately 2.5 to 3 years. I had the opportunity to be funded for 2 years full time to do research as a member of the Barnard Summer Research Institute. So for 2 summers consecutively, as a the summer of my freshman year and the summer of my sophomore year, I received funding to be part of the Summer Research Institute, and I had 10 full-time weeks of research. And I think that in my medical school applications really helped me stand out because I had that lengthy research experience. Further, as I mentioned earlier, I did pursue research full time after graduation, but having that base as an undergrad made me much more qualified to apply for research positions. And when I was applying for research positions, I had an overwhelmingly positive response as I was meeting people for jobs at these big universities like Columbia, like Cornell, like Columbia Vagelos, the medical school as well. I had so many interviews with different research professors because that experience as an undergraduate interested them. So I think this is also really advantageous. And again, re-emphasizing why we're talking about this now is because it's important to consider all of this when you're applying to SUNYs and CUNYs. Access to special funding, honors-only classes, personalized advisement, guided curriculum. All of these are, again, ways that your experience at this institution will be made more rigorous, where you will have more support, where your application to any graduate school or any, internship program, any part-time employment program, really anything will just seem strengthened because of the opportunities you have here. As you can see, they have, specific social events. There's a special graduation ceremony. It's noted that you are a university honors scholar when you graduate. This again all just goes to show the importance of keeping this in mind when applying to the SUNYs and CUNYs. Look at the honors program for each of the schools. Make sure you are in line with whatever deadlines they set so you apply on time. and make sure you're aware of the advantages that they give you. So this was for SUNY Buffalo, and I also wanted to go over the honors program for Stony Brook. So I think that's a popular choice for many students. We see similar things here. Honors members of honors programs at Stony Brook have special courses unique to them that are a lot more smaller scale. Again, why this is important? It demonstrates rigor on your college transcript. It provides you with much more meaningful opportunities to network with professors, to find opportunities, to find a network of students that you get along with. These things are very important because a lot of times introductory college classes are around 200 students in one class, whereas these courses have around 20 students. So that magnitude of a difference goes to show how important keeping in mind honors programs is. Again, opportunities to work with faculty, having a research experience, having the opportunity to pursue research, very advantageous. Guidance and advising, again, research opportunities, scholarship support, having extra financial aid. Again, priority housing, priority registration. Um, honor students, again, have the ability to take classes first. We already talked about how advantageous this was. Honor students also reside together. What better way to meet people who are like you, who have the same work ethic as you, who have the same ambitions as you, than to reside with honor students? Special events, special lounges for honor students. Really, really important because once you get to college campuses, you really find a balance between being at home and being at work or being at school. As a high school student, or throughout my entire life before college, my work space and my home space was the same. I would do my work at home, I would study at home. But once I got to college, I had the ability to separate that out and I would study only at the library. And my home was a space or my room was a space at college to just decompress, have fun, relax. Having access to special study spaces is very, very it's a really nice perk, especially during final season and other times when the standard libraries are super crowded and super stressful. Again, cultural, social activities. Um, there's just simply so much that you can imagine. Now, Stony Brook specifically has three honors colleges, or three honors program rather. One is the Honors College. Again, they have their own specific mission and what they're looking for. They're from all departments. They have, again, their own curriculum with specific seminars, mini courses, honors projects, research experiences, symposiums, study abroad opportunities, etc. Again, all this just goes to show the opportunities here. Student life, again, there's specific events for honors college members. There's a specific housing building for um honors college students. There's a perk which is it's as a suite. So there's like different individual rooms in a suite style. So there's 3 or 4 rooms in one suite that has a shared kitchen and shared living. That's much, much more convenient and nice versus corridor style living where there's an entire floor of individual rooms and everyone shares the same bathroom. This is simply just much, much more nicer, adult-like, etc. Students get suites, I would say on average in most colleges, in their 3rd year. You are starting off as an honor student at Stony Brook, living in a suite style, which means you have your bedroom, your own living room, and your own bathroom with a few other students. And again, this just, if we look at this tour really quickly, Now compare something like this to something where you have a bathroom that you're sharing with the entire floor. Again, an entirely different experience. So these are shared rooms with their own desks. But again, what we see is that it's a lot more of an intimate space than, again, comparatively to if a whole floor was sharing bathrooms and sinks. Okay. The University Scholars Program is another program at Stony Brook. Again, similar themes or similar perks likely. Let's take a look. We have mentoring opportunities. We have, again, special events. We have different opportunities for student life. Specific academic courses. We also have the WISE honors program, which is specifically for women in science and engineering. This is specific to underrepresented groups in science, math, and engineering. Again, what do we see here? A specific curriculum. So this is really advantageous to someone who's interested in science and engineering within Stony Brook. It provides you, its own opportunity and its own layout. We have specific courses. Again, we see an emphasis on research, mentorship. These are all things, again, just to bring it back to why we're here today. But keep in mind when you're applying to SUNYs and CUNYs, these are things you can mention in your supplements or in your addition, in your writing pieces to specific schools that this is why you want to go to the school. You see yourself fitting in these programs. Once again, priority registration, specific events to help students, mentoring opportunities, student life. So that brings me to the end of the discussion of honors program for SUNYs, and then I'll quickly touch base about the honors program for the CUNYs, and we'll wrap up the call with questions. I do see someone asked a question about CUNY schools with smaller classes. I'm definitely going to bring that up once I talk about the Macaulay honors program, because the Macaulay honors program is an honors program within all of CUNY that also provides the perk of first registration. So first registration or priority registration is advantageous if you want to, join smaller classes, because you will be the person with the first pick to enroll in that class. Now, something that I will mention is that the school size also impacts, the class size. So a school that's very, very big, may just have large classes for the first couple, for the first couple semesters. But once you choose your major, then the classes might get small. A school that starts off with with a much smaller student body will naturally have lesser students, even in those bigger introductory classes. As an example, off the top of my head, I can compare the enrollment size for Barnard College, and for Columbia University's, the arts and sciences, or the Columbia College. So for Barnard, there's 711 first-year students and 3,200 undergraduate students overall. Now, if we compare that to Columbia College, if we compare that to Columbia College, let's see. If we compare it to Columbia College, Columbia's college freshman class is typically around 15 students. So we see from 711, we're automatically going to 1500. So that's doubling the size. So obviously classes at Columbia starting, off the bat are going to be larger. But once you choose your major and things like that, classes naturally tend to get smaller. I hope I answered the question. And if anyone has any other questions, please feel free to message in the chat. I have prepared certain conversations, but I also left time for questions. And it gets pretty quiet if there are no questions. Okay. So this is an honors program, part of Baruch College. So as I mentioned off the bat, the Baruch program is excellent for business and finance interested students. Here there's an honors program, um, you know, specifically for Baruch as well. Now let's talk about Macaulay honors. I would highly recommend every single student or parent who is on here to encourage their child to apply to Macaulay. There is no harm applying to Macaulay honors, which is an honors program, part of CUNY, allows you to be considered for admission into the program. But if you don't get into Macaulay, you still will be considered for the CUNY itself. Now, Macaulay has a really nice, layout where they explain everything. And I want to go through that with everyone so that they're aware of, again, the perks, the deadlines, things to keep in mind, etc. So let's talk about a question that I got in the chat, which was, can you apply for student general and honors program? So someone asked, can you apply for honors program and also be considered for SUNY general? Yes, exactly. If you apply for an honors program and you're not accepted into the honors program, that doesn't mean you're not accepted into the school itself. So those are two separate things. Now, for Macaulay, first of all, the due date, November 15th, which is pretty close from now. Letters of recommendation date, November 28th. Now, you're eligible from Macaulay, first-time college students or students applying from high school, reapplicants. Again, your home campus choice. So for Macaulay, your campus choice is going to be the choice that you want to be considered for Macaulay. And then you can still apply for general admission into all the other campuses. And those other campuses include what we already have discussed. Those other campuses include Hunter, Queens, Baruch, John Jay, City College, Brooklyn, Staten Island, Lehman. Each with their own perks. Okay. Applications for Macaulay are done online, and I'm going to show everyone how to get to the application system. Now, what's needed for the application? Your high school transcript, if you have taken an SAT or ACT, recommendations, essays. Again, why are we talking about this? Because application to Macaulay requires 2 essays. So again, you have to keep these things in mind if you want to apply to Macaulay, because you have to write those 2 essays in time. That's exactly why we're talking about this now. There is an application fee or fee waiver. Great. Now, let's look at the benefits of Macaulay. I'm just gonna play this video.
I was planning to go to Carnegie Mellon University, and I put in a deposit, was ready to go. Everything was all set, and I received that call that I was taken off the wait list. And it came down to Carnegie Mellon was great. A lot of opportunities there. With financial aid, Carnegie Mellon was $45,000, as opposed to excellent academic opportunities and also free New York City. My studies here at Brooklyn College and at Macaulay have been incredibly valuable in training me and preparing me for what I plan on doing in the future, especially the kind of interdisciplinary seminars that were offered, as well as the Hertog Scholars Program, which allowed me to connect with philosophy and political science professors at other campuses, which I might not have had the opportunity to do so otherwise.
So again, what did we take away from here? We took away that this student had the opportunity to attend Carnegie Mellon, which is an excellent institution, but the sticker tag for that was $45,000 a year. Macaulay Honors was free. Now, what's part of Macaulay Honors? All of these various opportunities to receive financial aid. And for most students, from my understanding, I had a friend who attended Macaulay and it basically was entirely free for her. You also get opportunity funds to support specific research, internship, study abroad opportunities. You also get housing options through CUNY. So more or less, it's really an opportunity to remain within New York and have the opportunity to receive a lot of perks while, again, being in a city like New York. Again, you have special classes, seminars, lectures, events as part of the Macaulay Honors Program. Graduate debt-free, have a high advisor-student ratio, again, providing that mentorship. This tuition scholarship is for all students. Computer science, someone had asked about. All 8 Macaulay campuses have computer science programs. There's also nursing programs, pre-med programs, pre-law programs, engineering programs, business programs. Again, all these things to keep in mind for when you're applying to SUNYs and CUNYs, to CUNYs, because the Macaulay Honors essay asks you 2 questions. The first, describe an experience or a time that impacted your life. It could be when you learned something new, face a situation that challenged you, or anything academic, personal, or professional related that has made an impact. I would recommend students try to write a Common App that can be used for this prompt as well. That would allow you to apply to a bunch of other schools, including SUNYs, through the Common App. Use that same essay for the Macaulay Honors. However, you will need to write a unique essay for essay 2 or prompt 2, which is, why do you want to go to college? What are some of your areas of academic interest or career goals? How does your specific Macaulay campus choice fit with those plans? What do you expect to contribute and gain from the campus space and Macaulay community? So this would be an essay you would have to write no matter what. Okay. And last but not the least, to apply to CUNY schools, it has its own portal system. So all I did was I searched apply to CUNY, and you would click undergraduate admissions, apply now. start your application, and then you would click applying as a freshman if you're applying for the first time and you're currently in high school, or apply to transfer if you are currently at another college. And then this is its own system. Again, you would want to choose Macaulay Honors for this if you're interested in applying to the program. And then you would go through the portal system where they'll ask you, your basic demographic information, your name, your address, etc. They'll ask you about your courses, the school that you attend. You need to update in here who your recommenders are, because this is separate from Common App. Now with that, again, just to reiterate the application logistics, you're going to apply through the Common App for the SUNY schools, but for the CUNY schools that we just discussed, you're going to use that CUNY system. And just to reiterate, for deadlines, again, we talked about rolling admissions deadlines and how some programs, especially honors programs, may have their own deadlines and the programs may be rolling decision. Macaulay Honors is due on November 15th. Typically, early action is on November 1st. So other schools, the SUNY schools may have early action. Early action basically is a non-binding earlier application that indicates, interest or priority, you prioritizing that school. So I would highly recommend also apply early action wherever you can. It's an option and gets your application seen faster. Regular decision deadline is typically January 1st. Now, something I do want to caution, because I've seen this as a tutor happen to students every year, and I am also a student myself, and I've been a student for very long, so I understand why. Please understand that as a student, as a individual living in America or New York in particular, as families, I would say the time between honestly Halloween to New Year's is incredibly busy. Um, we're right in the season of um the Jewish holidays right currently, and then we hit Halloween, and then we have Thanksgiving, and then we have the winter break, which also marks uh Christmas Eve, Christmas, perhaps I believe Kwanzaa, maybe Hanukkah, New Year's, other holidays as well, depending on your faith, regardless of whether or not you celebrate these holidays, regardless of whether or not, you practice these religions or these cultures. The point is, it's incredibly busy for schools. It's incredibly busy for students. There's just something I would say unique about sort of this winter time that causes students to delay their applications. And what that also causes is extreme high amounts of stress. And I've seen it myself, and it really pains me to see students, not enjoying time with their families during winter break, or not just taking a break for themselves and relaxing during break, because instead they're working till the last minute. They're working till their bones are dry to submit their applications. The earlier you start, the better. If you came to this webinar for an hour, you can take out an hour every day or every other day to just even think about what essays you need to write, to think about the topic you want to talk about, to start writing a little every single day. That is going to be so much less painful than a student sitting on December 30th trying to submit applications. You never know what can happen. You can have technical difficulties. Your laptop can crash. There can be a family emergency. There can be a health emergency. Please, please, please look at these deadlines, and I would say plan for a week or two ahead of time. So I would say try to submit your, regular decision not by January 1st. Tell yourself the deadline is December 15th. You really, really do not want to stress yourself out as a student applying to these schools. You don't want to stress out your parents. Parents, I'm sure you don't want to be stressed out. Again, it really, really pains me because last moment at Kweller, we receive so many emails and phone calls and text messages, and every parent wants a tutor to work with their child. And when things are last minute, the quality of the work is going to be compromised. And I would never want a student, to put years of their hard work in a compromised position simply because they didn't plan their time. You want to put the best application out there because you went to school for 4 years of high school to ultimately apply to college, and your application should reflect everything that you've done in those 4 years. Um, so again, please, 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 mark your calendars, use Google Calendar, use Apple Calendar, use some sort of mechanism to keep yourself accountable. Um, Slow and steady always wins the race. I firmly believe that. And I've seen deadlines making all the difference for individuals. I myself, for applying to medical school typically is on a rolling basis. By the time that I was receiving interview invites for medical school, my peers had just gotten to submitting their applications. So again, this just goes to show how different the experience can be for you if you apply early. Because by the time that I was receiving, really positive responses about my application, I was getting a confidence boost that, okay, I've had these schools, they looked at my application and now they're getting back to me and they're interested in me and I have interviews. I was getting that confidence boost, but unfortunately, a lot of my peers were stressing out because they hadn't completed the application and they hadn't submitted it yet. And they knew that, that's not ideal. But again, what can you do? So this just goes, I'm just like trying to share my experiences with everyone to show that applying to deadlines early, applying to things prior to the deadline is not just, academically advantageous, but it really does um do a whole lot of good for you as an individual and for your family and for everyone around you. It's just a much less stressful environment. And again, the quality of the work is likely going to be much, much better when you don't rush it. Um, so with that, we have 8 minutes remaining. And again, I want to open up the floor to any questions that anyone has here today. Someone asked whether they can apply um for more than one school through CUNY. Yes, when you apply on the CUNY application, you can indicate multiple schools. I also saw someone raise their hand. If they can put the question in the chat, that would be great. Someone asked if I advise to apply to SUNY colleges using SUNY application or the Common App. I advise using the Common App for SUNY schools. In fact, speaking of the Common App, as I was looking at another SUNY university just now, I came across this. SUNY Free App Weeks, October 21st to November 3rd. If you apply to SUNY schools from these dates, you can apply to up to 5 schools for free. Again, goes to show the importance of applying early. This is another state university, University of New York, University of Plattsburgh. Again, they also have an honors program. Someone asked how to navigate Naviance and tips on that. So with respect to Naviance, that's a school-specific, software sort of setup that can allow you to, if I'm remembering correctly, request recommendations, indicate to schools the colleges you're applying to. With respect to Naviance, I would say that has to do with your specific school and how it's set up. Um, I do know how to navigate it, but I wouldn't have any type of access to that because it's been quite some time since I was in high school. And again, that's through the school itself. In terms of tips on navigating Naviance, I would just recommend go to your guidance counselor, have a sit down session with them, ask for help within your school. Um, from what I remember, I did not use Naviance really much. Naviance was only used for my high school to be aware of my college application process, but Naviance is not used at all by colleges themselves. I hope that answers the question. Um, Someone asked who they can refer the essay for help review and look it over. Again, if you're interested in essay help, you can contact Frances Kweller, and she can set you up with a tutor for that. Someone asked whether honors programs are timing based. Um, I'm not sure what they're trying to ask with the question. Honors programs um are timing based. I'm not really sure what they're asking. Um, Someone asked if they can also apply to private colleges using the Common App. Yes, that is correct. So for myself, I applied to SUNY Stony Brook, NYU, Barnard, Tufts, and a few other public and private schools using the same exact Common App. Someone asked whether when applying you have to enter any type of code. No, when you're applying to college, the Common App system makes it quite straightforward. So you just enter the name of the school, and that should populate the school in the Common Application system. Someone asked what the difference is between honors program and standard programs. I hope rather that I made that quite clear. Honors programs, oftentimes you get priority for registration. You often have better housing or specific housing opportunities to foster mentorship. You have specific student groups, specific mentor groups, specific advising opportunities, in certain cases, opportunities for research, etc. Those opportunities may not exist in standard programs. And again, honors programs typically represent, in the case of University of Buffalo, we saw honors program represented a top 10% of the class. So it's, a much more academically rigorous program. Applying early for honors, someone asked if you have to. Again, as I showed you, every school has its own deadline. For University of Buffalo, they wanted the application by December 8th. That is the case for Buffalo. May not be the case for every single school. For a question like that, you would have to consider the specific school you're applying to. Someone asked an honors program for wanting to become a teacher. I'm not sure off the top of my head. That is something that you would also have to do research in. But it is likely that there are programs, focusing on education or educational experiences. So yeah. All right, we have 3 more minutes. Someone asked, when applying to different colleges, do you input the major? Some colleges do ask you what major you're interested in. This is not a binding question. You do not have to go into the major that you say you will go into on your Common App. It depends on the school. Some schools ask you what major you're interested in. Some schools ask you what are the top 3 majors you're interested in. It really just depends on the school. Oftentimes there is a line asking for your interest. Someone asked about honors program, whether you required to have a specific GPA maintained to stay in the program. I would say very often that is the case. Honors program require you to have a specific GPA. May change depending on the school. I've seen anywhere from you must have a 3.3 every semester to anywhere between you must have a 3.5. Someone asked about FAFSA, submitting that versus submitting the Common App. FAFSA is a completely separate thing. Please, please, please submit your Common App as soon as you can. That is separate from FAFSA. So absolutely, you can submit your Common Application without FAFSA. Someone asked again, they wanted to clarify. CUNY has their own portal system, which I showed everyone. SUNY's, state universities, I would recommend just applying through the. Alrighty. Someone asked about regular decision. The deadline for regular decision is January 1st. But I think as I made quite clear, please do not consider that a deadline. Please, please, please tell yourself you want to finish your applications no later than mid-December. January 1st coincides with the new year and just gets too busy. Someone asked how can they find help with their essay? Again, I mentioned the best way is to reach out to Frances Kweller and Kweller Prep if you're interested in, receiving help through our center. Sometimes students also ask teachers, peers to read their essay, guidance counselors, etc. And you can contact Francis by contacting Kweller Prep. I can give you an email. So you can call the Kweller Prep phone number. You can also email at this email. Okay. The last question, again, just to reiterate, you can apply to colleges without completing the FAFSA. Those are two completely separate things. Both should be completed as soon as possible. But the FAFSA opens, I believe, a bit later. And so, again, please submit your applications as early as you can. Submit the FAFSA as soon as you can for that. Okay. With that, it is 8 p.m. So I do have to log off, but I hope that this session was helpful for everyone. And I wish everyone the best of luck in their applications to colleges. Bye-bye.